Hey everybody, welcome. Ooh, let's straighten this up. Welcome to a live mindset video. My name is Brandon. I'm here to encourage you, inspire, and uplift you to live your most joyful, most abundant life. And the topic these days is relationships. I have a relationship course launching called Tuning into Love: How to Restore Broken Relationships and Create Amazing New Ones. And I've been thinking a lot about it as I continue to read. I continue to learn and grow. And you know, the thing about healing broken relationships is it's easy to forget that relationships are not just about you. Relationships involve you and another individual. So I think anytime people are talking about, I want to heal a relationship, or I want to heal a broken relationship, or I want to create an amazing new relationship, I think the first thing you have to step back and realize is that at the end of the day, you can't control other people. You cannot control what other people think, how they perceive you, how they view you. You know, as all the relationships that I've experienced, the ones that have been the most amazing to me in my life are the ones that are based on honesty and forgiveness and love. If I had to say, like, there's three core qualities that make amazing relationships, I would say honesty is really important. Honesty about how you're feeling about things. This goes with my relationship with Dustin, the people that I work with. Is that sometimes we think we know what other people are feeling, what we're thinking, and they don't. And sometimes we're scared to tell people how we're really feeling. And that's not helpful to the relationship. You know, one of the biggest reasons that my relationship with my parents disintegrated was because I wasn't honest about being gay. And I wasn't honest because I was afraid about telling them the truth about being gay. And so I would say number one is really starting from a point of honesty. And it's really important when you're being honest that you're not blaming the other person. Blame doesn't solve anything. You know, if you blame some relationship and say, like, let's say it's your boss, and you say, well, you made me feel this way, and I blame you for my failure, right? That statement, you're really not owning your own responsibility in that situation. It's okay to tell people how you feel. That's how you feel. But to say that they cause it or they're responsible for it, you have to be careful about those words. And obviously, in certain situations, I go back. If you guys didn't watch the video yesterday where I talked about forgiveness, I read an incredible excerpt from a mom whose son was killed in the Sandy Hook elementary shooting. And she talked about how anger, bitterness, and blame was never going to basically bring her son back, and how she realized that forgiveness was actually the key for her moving on and actually cutting the cord between her and the shooter. And so it's natural for us to blame people when horrible things like that happen, because if the other person hadn't done it, it wouldn't have happened, right? But I guess the point is, blaming doesn't matter, because once it's happened, it's happened. And so then it really becomes more about going through the hurt and the pain and releasing it so that you can move on. And so honesty is really, really important. Number two is really loving the person. I think in any relationship, love is about giving more than anything else. So in terms of work relationships, instead of always asking your boss, you know, give me a raise or give me a promotion, like, what are you giving in that relationship? What are you giving to the job that you're doing? And if you're a boss, you know, stop asking all of your people to do stuff all the time and ask, how can I serve them? How can I serve my people more? How can I help them more? Right? And that's really, really important. That love is about service and giving. So a lot of disintegration in marital relationships or in relationships with parents and their sons and daughters is, you owe me, you're not giving me what I need, me, I, you owe me this, you owe me that. as opposed to their focus being on giving to that individual or giving to that person. And when we start to give, you get more back, and not always from the person you give it to, but it always comes back. So I think giving in relationships through love is extremely important. Forgiveness is, I keep coming back to forgiveness, and a lot of this is going to be about forgiveness. And forgiveness is tough because we have in our heads that forgiveness means telling the other person that what happened is okay, or that they're okay. And like, how do you tell someone that killed someone, like, what you did is okay, or you're a victim of rape and what you did is okay? And that's just not what forgiveness is. There has to be consequences for people's actions. And forgiving someone means releasing the emotional connection between you and them of the bitterness, the hate, and the anger for what happened. And it means that you are accepting what happened and you realize you can't change it. And forgiveness is actually, yes, every major religion talks about forgiveness, but the best marriages are the ones where people are quick to forgive and quick to be honest about how they feel. And I've asked, so I love meeting older people, and asking them if they've been married a long time, like what made your marriage last? Why have you guys been together for so long? And they always say they're both right. Like the husband will say, well, the wife is always right, and then she'll be like, no, you're always right. And it's the idea that they put the other person before themselves, so the other person puts them before themselves. And they always say, we don't ever go to bed angry. And I've said this before, but you can't be angry at someone and loving them at the same time. You can't be you can't be feeling lack and want and being grateful at the same time. Those things don't go hand in hand. And so just to recap the three things I've talked about so far is loving, forgiving, honesty. And then I think the fourth one, the biggest one, is detaching from expectations and outcomes. Because if you're realistic and you know that you can't control other people, sometimes marriages end. Sometimes friendships end. I think the most important part is that if that decision is reached to end the relationship, that you kind of complete the relationship so it's not left hanging and there's some closure there, where you end the relationship in a loving way. And it doesn't mean excusing like infidelity or things like that, like saying that that's okay, but it does mean accepting and choosing to still forgive and love the other person. And I also say that people think that forgiveness is something that you do like once and like you're done. And I don't think that's the case either. I think forgiveness is something that really has to, depending upon how deep the wound is, the forgiving process could last a really long time. And if you think about like the healing process of like a cut, right? So like if you have a paper cut, that cut can be healed in a couple of days. So your best friend calls you a name and hurts your feelings because of something that you were wearing. You can forgive them pretty quickly, and in a couple of days you've forgotten about it, you're back to normal. But like infidelity, murder, rape, like you can forgive the person, but that might take you years. And it also depends on your support system in place, because in order to forgive, you have to release and move past all the negative emotions that are associated with it, including with like some of the ideas of like guilt and shame of the part that you played, like not getting away, or if you were in an abusive relationship, not leaving sooner. Like that's the guilt and the shame over that can eat at your heart for a really long time. And I've talked many times before about me slowly rebuilding the relationship with my parents. And I've been texting my dad recently, and I know my perception is I hurt him more than my mom. I don't know if that's true. That's just my perception. I don't know if our relationship will ever be the same again. And I don't know if our relationship will ever ever be the way that I would like it to be. But I also know that I've done and I will continue to do everything that I can think of to forgive, detach, let go, and continually heal, and to continually do my best to rebuild that. Um, So, someone asked a question: what recommendation would you give to someone who has been trying to heal or mend a relationship and build a stronger relationship with a coworker? And after several attempts, several years, reaching out with kind words, asking questions, doing acts out of service, giving gifts, doing special things, giving them credit and compliments in public, but you're getting met with polite indifference and kept at arm's length. Lisa, that's a great question. I think the biggest question in terms of healing relationships is the sincerity. Like, it's kind of like if someone gives a compliment and they say, oh, like, how do you like my outfit? And they go, I love your outfit. But there has to be like a genuine behind it. And I think that some people, you can't control their perceptions of you. So you basically have two choices. So, like the case with my dad. So let's say, with my dad, I have two choices. I can continuing trying to reach out. I can continue trying to mend and heal that relationship, or I can say, you know what? I'm going to love that person from a distance. I am going to, acknowledge them on their birthday or special occasions and be very polite, but I'm going to leave it at that and allow them to warm up. Sometimes when you try too hard to mend a relationship, sometimes what can happen is you actually push the person away because they feel the effort, they feel the trying, they feel like you're trying to force them into healing the relationship when they're not ready. And it's kind of like the idea of the guy chasing the girl or the girl chasing the guy. That idea of chasing means the other person's running the other direction. So the number one question I would ask is, do you feel like you're trying to chase the relationship to mend it? Because if you're trying to chase it, then the person's going to run away. And so that's where with my dad, I have to be careful. I have to say, like, am I trying to force this on him? Am I coming from a place of genuine interest in him and genuine expression of love? Or am I just trying to heal the relationship just to heal the relationship? I think there's a difference there. And I think that the key is you have to respect other people's boundaries. And if they're not ready, they're not ready. And often what will happen is when you stop efforting so much or trying so much and you just love them from a distance, amazing things will happen. And the simplest form of this is Ho'oponopono, which is a Hawaiian thing where you say, I'm sorry for what I did. You say, I'm sorry for XYZ. And you say, I'm sorry to yourself. I'm sorry for you for the part you played. I forgive you, XYZ. I forgive myself for the part I played. I love you. I love myself. Thank you. Thank you. And you just kind of repeat this over and over again in your head. And energetically, what you're doing is you're actually telling the person you're sorry. You're forgiving yourself and forgiving them for both the parts that you played. And you are releasing judgment and giving them love, because you can't judge someone and love them at the same time. And so it's very easy when you feel like you're giving someone all this love and they're not responding to you, that you just want to judge them. Like, see, I'm doing my part and they're being bad. They're not responding back to the love. And so in a roundabout way, you've gone back to judging that person and don't even realize it. So that would be my suggestion for that. And that's a great question. And time heals all wounds. So it does. Sometimes wounds take more time than others. So that's what I have to say about that. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thank you all for watching. Make sure you take my 7-day relationship challenge down there in the comments if you haven't already. Twinning into Love launches later this week. And I'm excited to see some of you all in there. So have an awesome evening.